Sheena.
Okay, the regular meeting of the Planning Commission is called to order at 7:04 p.m. We will now take a moment for silent prayer or mediation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, being led by Vice Chair Williams.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Joanne, can you do roll call?
Commissioner Lewis.
Here.
Commissioner Hang.
Here.
Commissioner Becerra.
Here.
Vice Chair Williams.
Present.
Chair Gutierrez.
Here. Okay. Tonight we have minutes from the regular meeting on February 13, 2024. Does anyone have any changes to these minutes? I see that there is a correction that has to be made on public hearing item number 3 from that meeting, where it indicates the city attorney said there is a process in the municipal code that allows for reconsideration of actions. Cross out that, cross out have, cross out been, cross out denied, cross out rescinded, and cross out or and amended, and replace with taken, period. There was further discussion by the commission. It's being recommended by city staff to make that correction. So, any more corrections? Seeing none, okay. So we'll go ahead and make those corrections. And we'll move on to oral communications. Would anyone like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? So I believe they're all for item number 2. So we'll move on to the public hearing now. Item number 1, conditional use permit number 24-02. Categorical exception for applicant Atabak Yosufazi, location located at 300 North Azusa Avenue in West Covina, California. The request is that the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit, CUP, to allow for the off-site sale of beer and wine type 20 within an existing 541 square foot convenience store at a service station known as Arco, located in the neighborhood commercial NC zone. Who will be presenting the staff report tonight, Joanne?
Associate Planner Miriam Machado will be presenting the staff report.
Great.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is conditional use permit 2402 for the property situated at 300 North Azusa Avenue. The conditional use permit being requested is to allow for the off sale of beer and wine within an existing convenience store at a service station. The existing lot size is 19,704 square feet. The building size is 1,206 square feet, and the convenience store is 541 square feet. The property is zoned neighborhood commercial, and it is located on the corner of East Workman Avenue and North Azusa Avenue. It is surrounded by both commercial and residential uses. This is a photo of the existing convenience store located at the service station. Here we have the site plan showing the convenience store in comparison to the overall lot. For their floor plan here, they're showing the two proposed locations for the beer and wine. 4 coolers would be dedicated to the beer and 2 would be dedicated to wine. Both locations meet the requirements within our ordinance, which is 5 feet away from the entrances, which is shown on the floor plan. The primary operation of the business is a service station. They have 2 accessory uses, one being the convenience store and the second being a mechanical shop. They have 4 employees and they operate Sunday through Saturday, 24 hours a day. However, they will be limiting alcohol sales between 8 a.m. and 12 a.m. The current site is located in a census tract with undue concentration. There are currently 3 off-sale alcohol licenses issued to neighboring uses. Those neighboring uses being Royal Crest Dairy, Quick Stop Liquor and Market, and Leprechaun Liquor and Market. The current allowance per the census tract is 2. However, ABC can issue a license if public convenience or necessity is determined by the local governing body. The proposed use is within the neighborhood commercial zone, which is intended to provide services to nearby residential areas. And the city's general plan does encourage diversity of uses within this zone, including grocery stores, markets, or in this case, a gasoline station, as long as it provides adequate physical and safety measures. Planning staff recommends adopting Resolution 24-6147, approving CUP 2402. I have the applicant here if we have any questions for him, and I'm here for any questions as well. Thank you.
Great. Does the commission have any questions for staff? No?
No questions.
I just have one question. Part of the conditions of approval, did it include a requirement for flock cameras?
Yes, it did.
And those were with the verbiage of city-operated flock cameras, right?
Let me verify the verbiage. It does say integrated with the police department system.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So we'll now call up the applicant, Mr. Atabak. Hi.
Good afternoon. My name is Atabak Yousefzadeh. I'm the applicant for the project. I want to thank you for your time. I'm here to answer any question you have. We accept all the conditions that the city has for the project. And the owner is here in case you have any other questions.
Great. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? No? Great. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, I have one question that came from the public. Since the public always asks us about this question. I know there's a lot of, I guess sometimes people will say that there's a lot of arguments that go on in the parking lot. Can you just explain some of the security measures obviously you have in place at the location to address those issues? Obviously whenever there's times where there's customers arguing or fighting out there.
We have cameras that monitors the premise 24 hours. Is well lit, and in case of any problems, we tell the staff not to get engaged with any person that's making the threats or any other problem, and call the police. We try to tell the employees not to get engaged with any troubling individuals that are on site. That's basically the best we can do. Have well lit, have the cameras, so in case of any problems on the premise.
Great. And then my last question is: do you mind putting on the refrigerator, somewhere on the refrigerator that says 21 and over zone? And I know the other two applicants we had agreed also to that, which is just it could even be the one that ABC gives you, but the sticker that goes on the door, wherever the beer is at.
Of course we do, and you can make it as stipulate that into the conditions.
Okay, great.
If that suits the city, we're more than happy to do it. We are the first one to advocate not to sell, under the 20, age because of the laws and because of the morality of the law.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Doesn't the
you have a
ABC
question?
require that, though? Don't they require that? Every time
Alcoholic beverage control does require that we put it on the counter, so anybody that comes, they get actually ID. Now all the computers, they first get the ID and we put it in there to make sure that the person is over 21, and then we don't mind putting that on the coolers as well.
Yeah, perfect.
Also, that you're stopping the sales at midnight actually probably deters some more, problems. So that's probably a good idea as well.
One of the measures we do, we actually put a lock on all of the doors. So they actually lock them up after 12 o'clock. So nobody, even if somebody wants to get and run with the alcohol, they are not able to do it. That's the best measure we know to protect the store and the public from getting that before or after 12, before 6 o'clock and after 12. So each individual door has a lock that they lock it after.
Well, hopefully you won't have any problems. Generally, the police officers say that the problems don't normally come from that type of business. They usually come from the bars or things like that. So hopefully you won't have any problems.
Okay.
Great. Go ahead.
Just have a few follow-up questions. Does your convenience store stay open 24/7?
It is 24 hours.
Okay, all right. And then how many employees are on duty at any given time?
During the day, there are 2, and at night is 1.
Okay. And then currently you have refrigerators on that wall there right now. What are you currently selling? And outside of the refrigerated section, what else do you sell?
We have just the convenient goods. We have candies and what have you. In the coolers, we have water, we have sodas, and we have juices in the coolers.
Got it. So outside of the cooler area, I guess the question is where. I saw that there were just a couple of like small racks that are kind of in front of the cashier area. What else do you? How much of your total sales is from the coolers versus on those like small racks that are kind of there in front of the cashiers?
Majority of the sales come from the cooler, and those 2 sales, they're just the auxiliary sale for the station. But overall, predominantly 85% of the inside sales come from the cooler. And one of the reasons we want to get the BM1 because that basically helps the sale of the inside for the profitability of the station.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Just to remind you, this is one of the highest paying sales tax in the city. I think it's the number 3 in the city of Covina. I think 3rd or 4th. Just to let you know.
Great. Thank you. Great. Any more questions, Commission? No. Okay. We'll now hear testimony and those in favor. I think there's 2 neutral ones here, which Glenn Kennedy. You want me to go first? Yes.
Well, I'm not really neutral, but my issue is when this was put together, it was for 2,000 square foot facilities. It was for everybody who turned their service bay into a mini mart. And they still have their service bay. They still use it. It's just too small. There's no parking. And like he says, I think you're the number 1 tax revenue in the city. Damn, they're busy 24/7. You ever go by there? There's cars waiting in the street to get in because they have the cheapest gas in town. So good for them. However, there's no parking, and they may meet the 1 or 2 stall requirement because it's so small, but there's no parking there. And I counted 12 doors, and they get 6 of them for alcohol. That's 50%. No other store is going to get 50% for alcohol. Also take into consideration the 76 across the street is a kiosk. Are they going to be able to sell alcohol? This is some things to consider. Thank you very much.
Okay. So the next one is Herb Redhortz.
All right, good evening, commissioners. Nice to see you all. Glenn kind of took a little bit of my thunder there, but just to give you a little background, when I was on this commission, we kicked this around for a long time. And it is true that we originally had a minimum square footage that we approved at 2,000 square feet. The reason was that we tried to, well, let me just go back a little bit. People were complaining. Those in opposition were concerned that overnight 17 gas stations would all of a sudden become liquor stores. And we assured the public a couple of things. One, any application for a CUP requires a public hearing, and which is what you're having tonight, and there's no reason for you to rubber stamp everyone that comes in front of you. So that was a way to kind of ease their fears. But somewhere down the line, the previous city council got rid of the minimum square footage requirement. And that kind of scares me a lot, because as Mr. Kennedy alluded to, I mean, where do we draw the line? It concerns me that, again, back in the day, service stations offered service. They had service bays. And for service bays, you need to have mechanics, and mechanics, you can't pay them a minimum wage. You got to pay them a decent salary. So the service bays kind of went away and were replaced by a more cost-friendly convenience store for the operator. And we tried to give our local business people the opportunity to compete fairly by allowing them to sell beer and wine, because we had this ban in effect for so many years, which I didn't feel was fair, and we finally got rid of it. But this particular operator still has a service bay, and the size of the convenience store is extremely small. I mean, it's 481 square feet. Now, granted, he is within the square footage requirement, but as Glenn said, 50% of the reach-in coolers will be devoted to alcoholic beverages. And I just think I have a problem with that. And he also meets the parking requirement because the building is so small. You only need a couple of spaces to meet that. But I have concerns that this is going to be a problem going forward. And I feel kind of funny saying that, because I think Commissioner Hing knows I was, very much an advocate of this, and I still am. But it does concern me that all of a sudden we're going to have a lot of people coming forward for applications that are going to be too small. Like he said, where do we draw the line? The only good news is that each one, as we said, does require a CUP, which requires a public hearing. And it's up to you guys to, like I said, you don't have to automatically approve them all. You need to give them, due diligence and, make a good decision. But it does concern me that this is just too small. So I wish you good luck on this one. Thank you.
Right. We'll move on to can't read their handwriting here. It's it starts with an S. Okay, go ahead and come up. Go ahead, come. Your turn. You could help us pronounce your name on the mic for the record. Just because it's in cursive. Okay. Okay. Just state your name for the record.
Yeah. Can I speak for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm the 7-11 franchisee for last 25 years in West Covina. We run 3 locations, and we are serving this community on 3 locations, and we were open 24 hours during COVID, right? Although foot traffic was very low. So still we are not up to that number. We are still suffering in sales. And we employ 20 people here, and they all live in West Covina. Their families live here. So I am very close to gas station across the street. So just consider that how it will impact us in the long run and our employees. Because their families are here, they shop here, and they work with us all the time. Just a request for you make sure to see.
Great, thank you. And just
What was the name of your business?
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
and then just your name for the record.
Satvinder Sidhu.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
There's a 7-Eleven on Azusa. There at Azusa.
Right. That's the
Fuente.
closest one, right?
Yeah, he's
Francisquito and Azusa.
No. This one's over there on
Susan.
Fuente and Azusa. Fuente and Azusa, that newer one?
Yes.
Yes.
What is it?
To the Blockbuster.
Yeah.
All 3 of them, right? Yeah, he owns the one on Azusa and Workman too, which is across the street from the gas station. Okay, so we'll move on to Azaria Bara. Sorry, you want to speak? Oh, okay, you want to come speak? Come, it's fine. Come speak.
Hello, everybody. My first name is Ajab, last name is Brad. I'm 200 feet from a station, Leprechaun Liquor. We are 2 employees, we just make our living. That's it.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. Well, now, if there's no more speaker, I don't see any more speaker cards in favor or opposed. We'll now close the public hearing and open discussion by the commission. I will now open the floor for commission discussion. Commissioner Lewis, any comments?
Sure. I mean, I'll say this. Given the size of the store, and having been on that site, having gone to that Arco countless times in my life, the size of that store is just so small. It's unfortunately it's more of a kiosk than anything else. I mean, I always viewed it that way. So I'm reluctant to say that, particularly when we already have what is statutorily an undue concentration of alcohol sales in that tract, to go along with it. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that, from my own perspective, I don't want to impose some sort of arbitrary standard where the city council has given us guidelines and they seem to be in compliance with those guidelines. My concern factually, though, and I maintain this, is effectively 80% or 85% of the sales, according to the applicant, are from those coolers. And, if we're going to say that half of those coolers are now going to be wine and beer sales, it gets into a level where we're talking about, okay, if I split the baby and I say 42.5% of the sales are attributable to beer and wine, assuming that that's what actually happens, we're going over the spirit of the underlying ordinance that was passed by the city council, which really wanted this to be sort of an accessory sales use, as opposed to something that would be a primary a primary source of revenue. Now, albeit I'm certain it's not a primary source of revenue when you include gasoline sales. There's just no question about that. It's just when you talk about the convenience store as a whole, and you exclude gasoline and you get into the discussion of, well, this is going to be about 45 or 42.5% of your sales. I'm troubled by that, and I kind of lean toward, okay, what would be a middle ground that would allow this to move forward, but not in such a manner where you're having a substantial amount of the store dedicated to alcohol sales. I will also say, having personally gone there, and it was a little concerning to me because when I walked in, there was no one around. And I don't know if this was just a one-off, some emergency situation could have happened, but if that is the case and there's not somebody there to watch over what is going on, that's another concern I have. Again, I'm on the fence on this one, and I certainly welcome input from my fellow commissioners, but I'm leaning toward something along the lines of potentially allowing maybe 2 or 3 refrigerators to be allowed, but certainly not 6. I think that's too many given the size of the store, and frankly, I mean, if there were 2 of me in that store, I would struggle to get past myself, and so that's my concern for now. I'll defer to the rest of my fellow.
Well, if you say that 85% of the sales are drinks or beverages, then I'm not sure if that's the cheapest gas in town that's attracting the people to be thirsty or not. But I think that it's probably the gas attracting them, and then they can drink, buy the beverages. Most people going to get gas, it is a convenience. They can run in and get, their beverages or whatnot. And then, I mean, if I was going to get a bottle of wine or something, I wouldn't go to a gas station to get it. I'd go to the liquor store. But especially one that has heavy traffic, like they're saying that they do have. Anyways, that being said, they've met the requirements. There's really not, we cannot mandate how many refrigerators they have or how many beverages. That's up to our job here is to approve for the permit, and it is ABC who will regulate how they operate.
I have one quick question before we continue on this discussion. Is this mechanical shop operating, city staff? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it considered a service station?
Yes.
Then isn't there ABC rule on having a service station and selling alcohol on it?
Well, our permit allows them to apply for the permit with ABC.
And that's why
all we do. That it gives them, doesn't mean he gets approved. He now has to apply with the ABC now.
Okay, but I just want to clarify that. City Attorney, can you inform us on the ABC law in regards to service stations having a mechanical shop and having alcohol on their premises? Isn't there a rule on that?
Handy. I can look it up if you give me a few minutes.
Okay, great. We'll come back to that. So we'll move on to Commissioner Hain.
Because traditionally, I want to add that traditionally it is true. Mainly gas station do sell and service the car. However, it seems like nowadays it's more and more pushed toward not serving car. In this situation, it's a little bit different, that they have both, which is car and also selling gas. I guess a while back, I read up on the fact that the service stations are pushing more and more toward selling food and beverages, which is why we're here today. And regarding the alcohol, in terms of the percentage, it's relative. This particular convenience store is small. So when we're talking about if you only have two, which is it's very small, and if you're selling 50%, you're really only selling one. So in terms of numbers, what are we talking about? The convenience store currently is about 541 square foot, which is about the size, a little bit more than the size of a two-car garage. So, and also the fact that, again, in terms of numbers, we're talking about 50% alcohol or changing the sizes of the fridges or what have you. It's relative because of the sizes of the store as well. I'm not sure if approving this will, I don't know if everyone's going to run over there and buy their beers over there or not. But I guess if in the future we're pushing more toward servicing food, drinks in the convenience stores, it seems like that's the way that gas stations are pushing forward instead of just selling gas and doing service nowadays. So I'm possibly think it's fine if people wants to buy their gas and stop by and get some type of beverage, whether it's regular drinks that it's cold or just beer. I personally don't buy it at the gas stations, but anyone who wants to just stop by, buy gas, and stop by the stores and just grab something quickly, I mean, that's up to the resident here. So, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Great. Vice Chair Williams?
Yes, I had a question kind of for staff. It appears that there were existing 4 off-sale retail license. One, which is the CVS pharmacy, the newer one that's now closed. So right now there's 3. So to be honest, I don't have a problem since they had already been 4 off-sale, and the one before was a type 21, which sold considerably more items. And so my question would be to staff, in the future, I don't know what business may occupy the CVS in the future, but I imagine we're going to revisit this again.
That's correct.
Great.
Isn't Walmart's gone away too?
Walmart is in a different census.
It's in a different census tract.
Oh.
And the 7-Eleven is not in this census tract.
Great. And then City Attorney, go ahead.
Yes, Chair, thank you for the opportunity to actually look at the different types of the alcohol sales. As Vice Chair Williams has said, there are different categories for beer and wine, and there are different categories for general, which includes more. And there are very specific locations and the different types that go to the different types of business entities, such as restaurants or museums, and they even have wine growers agents and other bed and breakfast, eating places, public premises, fishing party boats. They are all different categories. And for this particular category of a type 20, this is issued specifically to retail stores. And within that, the convenience store would fall under retail, which is why they are applying for this particular type of an ABC license. And as Commissioner Becerra had said earlier, they still have to go through all of the ABC application process, and for ABC to issue the permits, there are a lot more of the requirements that they still have to go through. So this approval here is not necessarily saying, whether you agree with the categories of ABC or not, but that is what it falls under. And for the purposes of convenience store attached to a gas station, it does fall under that retail store category, which is why they are applying for a type 20.
Okay. So, I agree with Commissioner Lewis in regards to the locations of these beer and wine locations. My concern is you have two refrigerators on the left that are designated for I'm assuming regular drinks, and then you have beer, 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 and then wine, wine, and then the regular drinks again. So, and then the second question I have for city staff, do we know for a fact if these measurements are accurate? Because
The coolers
last time I've been there was very small.
the coolers would be new. The current ones wouldn't be the correct size based off what they're proposing now.
Okay, but in regards to the current distance, are they gonna? I mean, this says there's 7.3 feet of room, so
The plans were
6 feet.
drawn to scale. So based off what they're proposing, the sizes would be correct on the plan.
Chair, if I may elaborate.
yes.
The applicant is going to apply for tenant improvement in order to remodel the existing convenience store. And in doing so, they would have to get permits from building, and the building inspector would verify the measurements.
Great. And then my second question is there only one handicap stall being designated for this location?
Yes, there's currently only one handicap stall to the right of the convenience store.
And is that in compliance with the handicap
Yes, it is.
disability law? Right. I'm just asking because I'm an advocate for people with disabilities. So just if you're wanting to know why I'm asking that question.
Yeah, the federal government and the state.
Great. Yeah, I'm aware of that. So I'm just asking city staff if they looked into it. But so okay. Any more comments by the commission? If not, okay. We'll move on to is there a motion?
A motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Here we have a motion by Commissioner Becerra and a second by Commissioner Hain. Joanne, can you do roll call? Oh, please verify the motion and then do roll call.
Okay, the motion is to approve the conditional use permit number 2402. And the resolution number would be 24-6147. And I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Commissioner Lewis?
I'm in favor of approving it, but not at this scale, so no.
Commissioner Hang?
Yes.
Commissioner Becerra?
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams?
Aye.
Chair Gutierrez?
I have one question. Is where the refrigerator is the location of where the beer and wine are going? Is there a reason why there's two left open on the left and why there's some on the right? Why couldn't they all be in one section?
That question would be deferred to the applicant.
Okay, so I'm gonna, before I cast my vote, I'm gonna open up this commission discussion, open up public discussion. I'll call the applicant back up. Okay.
I want to ask that question, but I want to go back to one of the questions you asked in regard to the accuracy of the drawings. I'm the licensed architect instead of California, and these drawings were drawn by my staff, and I certify to their correctness and measure.
Great.
And as far as the location of the beer and wine, that's just the way we did it because we thought that was maybe bring the most sale, and that's the reason. And another question another comment I wanted to make the total sales for this convenience store is about $12,000 a month. So it's not $100,000 a month convenience store location and sale. So really, if you look at the scale of the sale of the beer and wine, it would be probably about $4,000 a month, which would be about probably $50 a day. So I want you to understand the scale of the sale of the alcohol in relation to the overall and totality of the sale of this station.
Great.
And if you want to change the location of the beer and wine, we'd be more than happy to.
Are you agreeable? Are you open to or agreeable to putting those remaining 2 wine locations all on the left side?
Of course.
And then you could put it, vice versa. But at least you have now all the alcohol in one section and all the regular drinks.
We have no problem with that.
Yeah. So, and then plus it keeps kids away from going into that section too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Of course. I think it'd be fine. We wouldn't have any problem with that.
Okay, great. So, thank you.
Wait, since you're up here and since you shared the information earlier, I find it quite interesting. So, in relative to the sales of the convenient food and drinks, what about the gas portion, percentage-wise?
This location sells 600,000 gallons a month of gasoline, which is probably about 600,000 times. You're talking about $4 million a month of gasoline.
Okay, so predominantly the
In relation to
businesses.
that $4 million, you're only selling $12,000 worth of. And the reason they do that because they want to service. A lot of the clients walk in there because they want to stop and get gas, and a lot of oftentimes they ask the owner, "How come you don't have beer and wine?" So that's one of the reasons that predominantly the customers have been asking them why you don't have beer and wine, because in relation to really the sale of the gasoline, this is very, very, very minute. But nevertheless, he has a few gas stations, so one of the reasons he wanted to service his customers is, what has,
Thank you.
to do this.
Thank you, because that answers what I was talking about earlier as well, because 85% of sales cannot be for, getting beverages. Obviously, he has a good business. He's got cheap gas. Gas is so expensive. He's the popular guy in town. So thank you for
the relation of sale of alcohol to the totality of the sale of the station is very, very, very small, just for your information.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So if city staff can reflect the applicant is agreeable to putting the alcohol in one section.
For clarification on the motion, we were in the middle of a vote, so there is a motion pending. Is that an amendment or I'm trying to figure out, is that an additional condition that needs to be written into the resolution? Because that might change the motion. So I just wanted to clarify. We have one more vote pending, so I didn't know
if that is amended, it would have to be if that's approved by the ABC.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot override ABC.
Correct. That would need to come back then. I wanted to make sure you were very clear on what the motion is and what you're actually voting on tonight.
Well, I know it's beyond the 5 feet requirement, so. And then based upon city staff's explanation and now the applicants, they're going to be remodeling the whole inside.
And as we've gone through the 2 previous permits that we've approved, we've learned then too that, ABC is going to go in there and tell him where he can put everything. So that's kind of a moot point.
So
I don't think I don't think I have to put I'm not requesting that the requirement be put in it, but the applicant is agreeable, if I'm not mistaken, to put all his alcohol on one side of the store, right? I'm allowing the applicant come back up.
That is true. We do agree, and we go on the record to say all of the alcohol would be on the left side, or if the city wants on the right side, all of the 6 coolers will be on one side.
So the applicant is saying that he's agreeable to putting his alcohol on either side.
So the desire of the commission is to note that in the record. Is that correct? But not change the motion.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So we'll go back to that motion that was on the floor. Do we want to clarify the motion that was on the floor? And we were voting on? just for the record?
The motion was to approve conditional use permit number 24-02 as presented by staff. And the resolution number is 24-6147.
Great. Okay, and so go ahead. Continue on roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Gutierrez, I'm sorry, Chair Gutierrez.
Great. I will abstain. Great. So this action is final unless appealed to the City Council within 10 days. The appeal must be submitted in writing to the City Clerk's office within 10 days. We're now.
Let her say motion pass.
Sorry,
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead and.
To clarify the vote of the motion passed, three of the planning commissioners voted for it. Commissioner Lewis voted no, and Chair Gutierrez abstained.
I think it's the moon eclipse, the eclipse that happened yesterday. But okay, so now since that's been clarified, this action is final unless appealed to the City Council within 10 days. The appeal must be submitted in writing to the City Clerk's office within 10 days. We'll now move on to non-hearing items. Art in public places, number 24-02, Phase 2, categorical exemption for 1115 South Sunset Avenue in Métis Hout, Queen of the Valley. Who will be presenting the city staff report?
I will be presenting the staff report for this item.
Okay, great.
Okay, this is phase 2 of the Queen of the Valley Arts in Public Places requirement. To summarize the previous approval on January 26, 2021, the Planning Commission approved precise plan number 20-24, which allowed for the construction of the medical office building, parking structure, and emergency department and ICU hospital additions. As part of the requirement, 1% of the valuation of that project is required to be provided towards the Arts in Public Places program. And on November 22nd, 2022, the Planning Commission approved the concept for the aerial sculpture within the medical office building. And on February 28th, 2023, the Planning Commission approved the design for the mural. Those are the Arts in Public Places for the Phase 1. The artist that was selected for the Phase 2 will entail 2 sculptures. The artist selected for the first sculpture is Christopher Puzio, and the location of the first sculpture will be on the southeast side of the medical office building, which is the front of the medical office building. On the projector is a photograph of the location. There are currently three trees in this location, which will be relocated to allow for the installation of the sculpture. And as far as Mr. Pacillo's artwork, Mr. Pacillo has created artwork throughout California and the United States, including public art commissions in the cities of Brea, La Jolla, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, and Miami. And on the projector are 4 examples of the public art that he had commissioned. On the projector is the concept for the artwork. The material that will be used is powder-covered steel featuring circular or geometric patterns. The concept was selected because of eminent interest in showcasing artwork that integrated the regional landscape with patterns found in biology. The sculpture will be 20 feet in height and span up to 20 feet in width. And the budget for this sculpture is $300,000.
Is that 20 feet heights or 12 feet heights?
12 feet in height, 20 feet in width.
She said 20.
The second sculpture, it would be located between on the walkway or landscaped area between the medical office building and parking structure. The artist selected is Nick Petronzio. And a photograph of the location is on the projector. Mr. Petronzio's artwork could be found. He has a sculpture in the J. Paul Getty Museum. He also has public artwork that can be found in front of the Godfrey Hotel in Los Angeles, which is this photograph on the top left. The Waldorf Astoria in Beverly Hills, the Nasher Sculptures, and also at the Nasher Sculpture Center in Dallas, and in Disney theme parks worldwide. The projector is the sketch of the concept for the sculpture. The material used would be powdered covered steel in Eminence corporate blue. The sculpture will be 11 feet tall and 2 feet 3 inches wide, and it will depict birds in flight. The budget for this sculpture would be $200,000. On the projector is the total budget for the Arts and Public Places installed, and which is phase 1, and also being proposed. So this would include the suspended sculpture for phase 1, the mural, Pozzio sculpture, Petrozio sculpture, and also the footings for the installation of the Pozzio and Petronzio sculptures. The balance would be $77,157, which will be anticipated to be provided in phase 3. Okay.
The suspended sculpture was less than 255. It was more around 155. So the remaining budget for the remaining balance for is to be more than 170,000, which would be for phase 3.
Okay. According to the applicant, there is an adjustment in the budget. So the cost for the suspended sculpture was actually less than what was originally budgeted, and he will provide the figures to staff. With this, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the concept design of the sculptures. Mr. Ken Kuller is the applicant. He will be able to discuss the project in more detail.
Hello again.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Questions? No, I was just...
Any questions by the commission?
Presenting.
I guess in relative to the building, the first one and the second one where it's being placed, do you have scales of like the heights of the artwork itself?
I believe it was given in the presentation that one will be 12 feet tall.
Correct, but in relative to the building itself, you don't have a scale to the...
Not. The building, I believe, is 3 floors, so it's going to be...
about 1 floor.
The building.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis?
I have a question regarding, so in my report, and I apologize, unfortunately it's very small here, but there's a pattern that you can see right here, and it looks like it's almost like these circles are sort of spot welded together. Is that kind of the look?
That is a picture of the construction. The actual finished product will be powder coated and smooth and will not look near that rough.
Okay.
It'll be a very finished looking piece.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll say that is
I saw that myself, and I was going,
very aesthetically displeasing.
yeah. No, I see where you're coming from.
And so
it's not going to look like that.
Okay, and so this is going to go. Okay, I see the location. I just want to, and the powder coating is going to be. Is it going to be sort of a grayish or gold? I don't know. The printout is kind of goldish.
It'll be metallic,
so
like a dull metallic. So.
Okay, so gray metallic or sort of it looks sort of bronzed here. That's the reason.
It's not going to be bronze. It's be more grayish silver.
Okay, all right, got it. So this would be more of an accurate portrayal.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on it because it looks a little. It just looked a little strange how it came out.
I see where you're coming from. That was a good question. Yeah.
Okay, and then the same for I guess the doves, so to speak. But that's going to be the same sort of finish.
That will be like an automotive finish on it. It'll be it will be powder coated, and let me see, and it will be a teal blue.
It'll be a teal blue.
Teal blue. Yes, you can see there is a picture of the color. If you can see the powder coating on page, there you see it on page 8.
I wish we could have a rendering of that because it just seems like I don't know that I've ever seen anything powder coated that color.
You can powder coat anything virtually.
I'm sure you can. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying I don't think I've ever seen a sculpture powder coated like that with that color kind of look, especially if it's going to have a metallic look. Correct?
No, it's more like an automobile finish.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right. Interesting.
It'll be one color. Yes.
Back to the detail question of the circular pattern. It appears like a little detail close up. It has the little dot that Commissioner Nicholas was talking about.
The weld marks.
Correct. It seems like the big picture, the original picture at San Diego, does appear like it has the weld mark, those little circular mark as well.
It's not going to look that unfinished whatsoever. This artist has been well received. I've actually worked with this artist on a past project, and it was very well received by the Art and Public Places Commission in San Diego and the client as well. I could get a better rendering. I do have pictures on my phone.
You may not be able to see it because it's 12 foot up in the little circle.
Yeah.
I think it might be there still.
It is when it's completed, it'll be No, it'll be like like a silver gray. And it's going to be a very finished looking.
Very interesting. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Let me see if I have it here.
Okay.
Pardon?
They're all the same color.
Will be in what the theme is like a uplifting of the spirit in that particular sculpture, where they'll be in different phases of emergence from the solid sculpture, coming out and breaking free from the sculpture.
Sorry, if the circular sculpture itself is blue, will the bird stands out?
Pardon?
If the circular portion, it seems like there's a circular...
Right, the circular portion.
Right, that's blue, and then the bird itself is also powder coat blue. I mean, does it...
Take a look at the photo, and you'll see that this is negative space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, if not the photo, I see the rendering, which is the drawing.
Yes.
Here we go. You can see how... Can you see how there is like a line behind the birds? I guess it wasn't well described in the rendering. But that will actually be, the birds will be breaking away from the sculpture, and where they break away, there'll be a negative cutout in the sculpture, like they've just emerged from the sculpture.
Oh, gotcha.
They're going to heaven.
So you need that
Pretty.
blue. Thanks.
Yeah.
Great. No, yeah, I think it's. I think these are beautified sculptures. Now, is there any intention to light these up at night?
To light them up?
At nighttime?
At this point, no. It is a medical office building, so I believe the hours of operation aren't really going to extend into the night too much.
Okay.
But
it's not in the same area as the main hospital, ER?
The ER is on the other side.
Okay.
The approach to this is the MOB, which I believe will have. Of course, the ER is going to be open, but the sculptures are not on that side. They're on more of the side of the MOB.
That would look really nice, actually. Some lighting.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying.
I mean, they have a big budget remaining.
It would look pretty.
Our first installation. Did you see our first installation there?
Are they allowed to use, if they wanted to, the remaining budget on? Let's say they wanted to integrate some sort of additional lighting for those sculptures, Joanne?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so. That's definitely an option. We have another area that might be designated for them, but we might have money for both. I'll definitely bring that up to the client.
Yeah, let them know that. I mean, this is such a unique hospital, and I think showcasing what this hospital has on its campus, especially these art pieces, are, I think, instrumental for years and years to come. Because it gives people the opportunity to visit the campus and see firsthand some of the most unique artist sculptures in Southern California. So
I'm very proud of the work we're doing there.
Yeah.
Did you see Did you see the mural?
I have not.
Oh, was very well received by the mayor and everybody. It's very cool.
Great. When is this expected to be completed?
I think about September.
Okay. So can you make sure that you let our planning director know of when that's going to be, so our commissioners can attend to?
Well, of course.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Hey, yeah,
you can tour the whole site. You can tour the other two pieces of art too, because we also have the suspended sculpture in the lobby that's very nice.
Yeah, I know. I think we'll love all to go. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Would that be it?
Any more questions? Nope. Seeing none. Okay. So I would like to let's see. I would like to make a motion to approve Art in Public Places number 24-02, Phase 2 of the project, category exemption 1115 South Sunset Avenue, the Imanti Hout Queen of the Valley Hospital.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion by myself and a second by Commissioner Becerra. Joanne, can you do roll call?
Aye.
Commissioner Hang?
Aye.
Commissioner Becerra?
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams?
Aye.
Chair Gutierrez?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. And can you verify the motion that was just passed?
The motion was to approve the concept for the Arts in Public Places sculptures.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to commissioner reports and comments and miscellaneous items. Would any of the commissioners like to report or comment on an item? Any comments? Commissioner Lewis?
I just want to comment, just because this has happened now twice, where we've had a situation where we've had a motion, a roll call vote, and then a stop. Where, unfortunately, and I kind of feel like some of my commissioners might feel like they are being hung out to dry to some degree by virtue of the fact that they vote and then we end up having to have further discussions on things. I don't mind that. In fact, I certainly welcome further discussion, but I do not appreciate having to have a roll call, subsequently stop the roll call in the middle of it, have further discussion, further information considered and not being provided the opportunity to opine on that with my own vote. I think that that is a practice that needs to stop, and it needs to stop immediately. From my perspective, I think that this body ought to institute a rule that in the event that that one person votes, we all have to vote. Or alternatively, we have to go through and reconsider if we're going to go through and consider new information. It's not fair to the people who vote. It's just not. So that's my comment.
If you wanted to comment, you could always ask to open up discussion, Commissioner Lewis.
Damage is done, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
But isn't it during the course of voting, if someone else or some commissions is introducing a second motion or a third motion, is that a...
If there is an alternate motion proposed and the voting has not happened, that would be appropriate. If the voting has begun, it should go to completion, and then if there is a reopening for discussion, at that point, that would be a reopening and undoing of the vote that was just taken. So procedurally, the proper way is once the motion and the vote has started, it should go, and if there is something that needs to be presented that's additional information, then the body has the option to either redo that vote and reconsider it.
I think we have, because I know sometimes Commissioner Becerra has questions, I know sometimes Commissioner Hang has questions, and I think they have every right to do so. And I had questions today. And I believe the last person who was our acting assistant city attorney indicated that it was at the chair's discretion to allow for a discussion to reopen or not.
Correct, but in the middle of a vote, it would be less confusing for minutes for the staff as well as viewers at home to follow what motion is being acted upon, to have the vote happen, or if all members or some members say, I'm not ready to vote yet, let's not close the discussion. That can proceed as well. I think in pause, and Commissioner Lewis's point, I believe, was that in the middle of a roll call vote, if anything changes by reopening the discussion, those who have already voted should be able to consider the new information and whether the motion is changed or not, that they have the opportunity to address the additional information that was raised.
If that commissioner brings it to the attention that they want to speak on it.
And again, that is based on procedural rules of this body. So if this body wishes to have something in place to say once the voting has begun that it should continue, or whether if further discussion or an alternate motion needs to happen, whether that will constitute a change to the motion that you're voting on.
Okay. Well, I'm going to encourage our city attorney's office to work together to come up with a conclusive legal opinion, because I know Barron had a different legal opinion, and I know you have a different legal opinion, because I know at times this body does have questions sometimes when the voting is going on, and obviously we don't want to impede freedom of speech, and obviously they've been appointed to these positions to be a voice for the community.
Well, yes. I don't think it's wrong, but then if you're going to abstain, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're not the only offender. I think the only ones that aren't is Vice Chair, Commissioner Hang, and we're the only three that don't violate that.
And for procedural, yes, the discussion can be reopened, but I think at that point it should be a new motion, a new how should I say, a clarified motion, so that everyone who is voting has a chance to address that new information. So it wouldn't just pick up from one person remaining on the vote, but to restate the motion and what is already out there and clarify whether there is an alternate motion or not. And then so everyone is clear as to what they're voting on and to be able to address that. And I think in some way that is basically reopening the discussion. It's not saying that you can't reopen it, but for clarity of the record as well as the clarity of the minutes, for the next time, it is simpler or clearer if we can restate The motion, including whatever new information may have been presented, maybe not, maybe there is no new information, but the fact that that can be addressed and say, okay, let's restate the motion and let's do the vote again. That's I think the solution to it.
So basically, what should have happened is we voted, and he could have abstained, and then it would have gone through anyways because it was 3-1.
It would not have changed the result of whether the motion passed
Right,
or
exactly.
not, based on the vote that ultimately.
You already had 3.
Correct.
Yes.
So yeah.
Let's say that if we did vote and we had 3, and if someone else, commission wants to introduce another motion, then we can continue voting.
That would be an alternate motion, and that would be presented and voted upon with the alternate motion. But once the voting has started, it should be one movement.
Okay. So any commissioner can actually introduce another motion so that we can vote it upon as
an alternate or substitute motion.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
So it's just in the verbiage.
It's how the motion is actually stated, so everyone knows what they're voting on, and so that it's very clear for all commissioners to make your decision based on what the motion is.
So even though there was a vote at the beginning, like there's a first motion, even though it's passed, commissioner can also introduce another motion and being voted upon again.
If it passed, then if the motion had passed, that is the action already taken. So it is finished. Yes. However, again, as you have seen the prior meeting, there are ways to reopen an item or reconsider. But again, that's a separate motion. It's a separate process. It's a different vote at that point.
Well, a reconsider, wouldn't that be just what he did, though? A reconsider?
That is not what was presented today.
Okay.
No, there was a.
You wanted an amendment.
And I think
I stated that the applicant had agreed to voluntarily agreed tonight, or voluntarily agreed to move that over, and I wanted that notated on the notes. But since there needed to be clarification, I reopened public discussion to allow the applicant to re-verify his commitment on that notation. So there was no need to do that unless there would needed to be clarification. And in this today, there needed to be clarification if that was going to be if that had to be a supplement motion, which in this case did not, because the applicant, it was just to be notated as notes.
And that was why I asked for a clarification of whether the motion was going to be changed based off of that and whether you were requesting a revision to the resolution. And when it was clarified, it was not. It's still the same motion. We proceeded with the remainder of the vote.
So there was no violation.
Correct.
But in this instant, let's say Commissioner Lewis wishes to make changes his vote while we haven't completed yet. He did voted already, but at the end of his discussions, if he wanted to change his vote, he could have speak up, correct?
At that point, if he had already voted and not been able to, and the motion had not changed, it would still be the vote. And that would require a motion for reconsideration. And as far as like procedurally, if there are a set of rules that this body wishes to adopt, I do think that would be appropriate to agendize for a full discussion to say how you want to run your meeting, how you want the voting to happen. Those meeting rules are something that this body can establish for how you want to run your meeting. And if that is the case, I think that is the appropriate forum for this full discussion. This is not an agendized item on how to establish your rules. So if there is a desire to set meeting rules other than what is in the municipal code and that the council follows, you are free to do so, and we can.
Yeah, I think we have Robert Rules of Orders for that. But great. And then So and then just to clarify, So perfect. So all that was all answered, and so we'll move on to Community Development Director's report. Joanne, do you have any items to report?
Yes, there will be an Earth Day and Arbor Day event on Saturday, April 27th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the West Covina Civic Center. And based on the discussion during the commissioner's report, staff will be bringing in an item, agendizing an item for the Planning Commission discussion, mainly because the city will be providing the Planning Commissioner's email addresses, and that will be a part of, and that will be done in the future, and it will be a part of the Planning Commissioner's document that Deputy City Attorney Rosemary Koo was speaking of. As far as City Council actions are concerned, the zone change in regards to the Development Code update was approved by the City Council, and it's scheduled for a second reading on April 16th. That concludes the director's report.
Great. Okay, great. And then finally, do we have a status, or maybe this has to be discussed at the next meeting, on the Rebel Bar and Grill?
It was initially scheduled for the City Council meeting in December. However, the applicant or the business owner's attorney requested that they participate with the city in the civil compromise. And currently, the city attorney is in discussion with their attorney. And as of right now, I can't speak to the discussion. I'm not a party of it. But staff will be providing the Planning Commission an update when it is scheduled for City Council review.
Okay, great. And we'll now move on to, since there's no further business to discuss, the meeting is adjourned at 8:22 p.m. Pacific time.